You've probably done this, I know I have. You find a rental property online, you pull out your calculator, subtract the mortgage from the rent, and you think, wow, this thing cash flows like crazy. But then, real life kicks in. A tenant leaves, the water heater breaks, your property taxes get reassessed, and suddenly, that dream investment is actually costing you money. So today, we're going to do a deep dive into the real math, the nitty-gritty of underwriting a rental property the right way.
And this right here is the absolute heart of it all. Successful real estate investing isn't about having a good feeling about a property. It's not about hoping for the best. It's about being brutally honest with the numbers so you're prepared for what's coming. We're going to replace that optimistic gut feeling with a cold, hard spreadsheet. Because honestly, that's what separates the pros from the people who end up losing their shirts.
So here it is, the classic mistake. On the left, you've got the beginner's view. Rent minus mortgage equals profit. Simple, clean, and almost always wrong. But the pro on the right, they know the truth. The mortgage is just the tip of the iceberg. Real cash flow is what's left after every single expense gets paid. Let's really nail down what that means.
This is the only number that truly matters. It's not the rent you collect. It's the actual spendable profit that hits your bank account every month. And to get to this number, you have to be a detective. You have to uncover every single little thing that can, and absolutely will, take a bite out of your rental income.
The best way to think about this is to group all those costs into three big buckets. First, you've got your debt service. That's your mortgage payment. Easy enough. Second, you have your other big fixed expenses, mainly taxes and insurance. And third, well, this is the big one, the operating expenses. These are the sneaky ones, the ones that surprise you and completely wreck your budget. Most beginners stop at bucket number one. Today, we're unpacking all three.
All right, let's start with the expenses that most new investors actually know about, but almost always underestimate. These are the four parts of your PIT payment. That's principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. You might get a 30-year fixed-rate mortgage and think, great, my payment is locked in for 30 years. Well, not quite. Remember, your lender collects money for taxes and insurance into what's called an escrow account. And guess what? If your property taxes go up or your insurance premium skyrockets, which happens all the time, your lender just increases your total monthly payment to cover it. So that fixed payment isn't nearly as predictable as you think.
Oh man, this is one of the biggest and most costly mistakes you can make. You can't just look at the Zillow listing and see what the last owner was paying in taxes. That's a trap. The second you buy that property, the county often reassesses its value based on your new, higher purchase price, and that can cause your tax bill to jump, sometimes by a lot. You have to call the county assessor's office and get a real estimate for what you will pay.
And speaking of costs going up, insurance has become a massive wild card. It is so easy to just plug in a low, generic number into your spreadsheet to make the deal work. But in the real world, especially in areas with floods, fires, or hurricanes, premiums are exploding. Don't guess. Get a real, bindable quote from an insurance agent before you even think about closing. That lowball number you used could easily be half or even a third of what you'll actually have to pay.
Okay, so we've talked about the big, obvious expenses. Now we need to talk about the ones that are much, much easier to ignore because they don't show up as a nice, neat monthly bill. These are the silent killers of cash flow. They're the 90% of the iceberg that's hiding under the surface, waiting to sink your investment if you're not ready for them.
In this chart, wow, this really says it all, doesn't it? Take a good look at your rent dollar. Before a single cent of it can be called profit or cash flow, look at all the pieces that get carved out. You've got property management, maintenance, CapEx, vacancy. All of these operating expenses can easily gobble up 30% or more of your gross rent. Let's break them down.
I hear this all the time. Well, I'm just going to manage it myself, so that's a $0 expense. But here's the thing. Your time isn't free. It has value. And what if you move away or get a new job that's super demanding? Or you just get sick and tired of those 2 a.m. calls about a clogged toilet? A truly good deal has to work on its own 2 feet without your free labor. So always budget for professional management, even if you plan to do it yourself at first.
This is another fantasy. Oh, the property was just renovated, so I don't need a maintenance budget for a few years. That is a massive gamble. Just because it's new doesn't mean it's unbreakable. Faucets leak, garbage disposals jam, tenants accidentally punch a hole in the wall. It happens. It's not a matter of if you'll have repairs. It's just a matter of when. Budgeting zero for maintenance is literally planning to fail. A safe bet is 5 to 10% of your monthly rent set aside just for this.
Now this is super important. We have to separate maintenance from its big, scary cousin, capital expenditures, or CapEx. See, maintenance is fixing the leaky faucet. CapEx is replacing the entire roof for 10 grand. Maintenance is a few $100, CapEx is thousands or tens of thousands of dollars. These are the huge expenses that you know are coming eventually, and you have to be saving for them every single month.
And this is exactly how it plays out in the real world. It's so simple and so painful. Step 1, you think you're clever and you budget 0 for these big items. For a year, maybe 2, you feel like a genius. Then, boom, the AC unit dies in the middle of a July heat wave. Now you're staring at an $8,000 or $10,000 bill that has to be paid right now. And just like that, every penny of profit you made for the last 2 years is gone, instantly.
And here's the last of our silent killers, the $0 vacancy fantasy. Look, no property, I don't care how great it is or where it's located, no property stays rented 100% of the time forever. It's just not possible. People move. And in between tenants, you have 0 income coming in, but you're still paying that mortgage, those taxes, and that insurance. A standard rule of thumb is to budget 5 to 8% of your annual rent for vacancy, which works out to about 1 month of it being empty each year.
So, after all that, what's the big takeaway? It's really about a fundamental shift in how you look at a deal. It's about moving away from being an optimist who hopes for the best and becoming an underwriter who plans for reality. You have to shift from optimism to accuracy. Because over the long haul, this is the race you're really running as an investor. On one side, you have rent growth, which is awesome. We all love that. But on the other side, you have this thing called expense creep. Insurance goes up, taxes go up, the cost of a plumber goes up. Everything gets more expensive. Your real long-term profit comes from making sure your rent growth outpaces your expense creep. And that brings us right back to where we started. That deal you're looking at. After you account for all of these things, the taxes, the insurance, the management, the repairs, the big replacements, the vacancy, after all of that, does it still look like a winner? Does it generate real take-home profit? This right here, this is your new checklist. First, you list every single expense we talked about, no exceptions. Second, you underwrite each one conservatively. That means you estimate high, not low. Third, you build cash reserves to handle those big surprises. The whole goal isn't to find a deal that works on paper on a perfect day. It's to find a deal that still works when life gets messy. And that's really the bottom line. This isn't about being pessimistic or negative. It's about being a realist. Accuracy is what protects you from disaster. Accuracy is what builds real, sustainable wealth. Optimism when it comes to your numbers is a liability. So be accurate, be prepared, and you'll become a strong, successful investor for the long run.